Hi everyone, today I want to make another game update idea video like I have done many times in the past with various topics, classes and sets. And today I want to talk about Primals and the Angelic Crucibles. For anyone who has played Season 27 a little bit, I think Angelic Crucibles are a great boon. Almost everyone seems to like it. I've not heard any bad things about that system. And I think generally it's a very enjoyable new way of upgrading your character, upgrading your equipment. And I believe that going forward, we should think about what we can do with this and how it could be potentially implemented in the core game. Before we continue, here's a word from the sponsor of today's video, PUBG Mobile. PUBG Mobile is one of the most popular mobile games in the world. It's a free-to-play battle royale for your phone with over 50 million active daily users. You can queue up solo, duo, or in a squad. And in addition to the Battle Royale game mode that it's most known for, it has 10 other game modes for you to choose, and a total of 6 different maps. The newest addition is Nusa, a map recently introduced in the September update that is designed for quick burst mobile sessions. It's a very small map with fast-paced action. It has a fun tropical island holiday feeling to it, and the whole map is designed to be action-packed and enjoyable. PUBG Mobile offers regular updates similar to this, and on top of this they also have lots of cool collaborations going on all the time. To name a few, they have worked with Spider-Man, the Amazon series, The Boys, Lamborghini and Koenigsegg. So lots of pretty cool stuff that offers lots of customization for your character, for your skins, and to portray yourself in the game. Personally, I quite enjoy the Battle Royale genre, and if you're intrigued by this, then go check out the game. PUBG Mobile is free to play and the download link is in the description. Have fun. So let's circle back to the topic of Crucibles and Primals. I believe pretty much everyone has had that experience already. You find a Primal, you're super excited to see this red star on the map, and it turns out to be something like a Black Thorn's amulet, or one of the other like 300 trash items in the game that you don't care about. So while we have this super rare, shiny drop that is supposed to make you feel excited, most of the time it just ends up being a huge disappointment. The main way around that is to just like make use of most of them in some way. So for example, for me, people always ask me how many of those 70 primals you have gotten in this season are actually useful. And I usually answer them, well, quite a lot, like at least half of them or so. But that's because I play like 30 different builds in a season. Obviously, this doesn't apply to the average player that are maybe doing like 1 or 2 or 3 characters or something like that. And this is probably about it for most people. And in this case, you're going to end up with a lot of trash. And in the past, there have already been various suggestions about how to potentially update the primal system, for example, by allowing 2 rerolls at the Mystic to have a higher chance of having good stats on the item, for example, or potentially salvaging those primals into another new type of material instead of the 15 Forgotten Souls that doesn't really offer a lot of extra value. And I think exactly this idea is where Angelic Crucibles can come in. So Angelic Crucibles are the Season 27 theme right now. They offer the ability to get a free primal, and you have one of them equipped at a time. And they also give you one of these extra superpowers. I've already talked about the potential of maybe allowing these superpowers to stay as legendary item effects that actually come at a cost in the future. So you have like maybe a new armor slot you can put in a cube to preserve the magic missile power, for example, that is very popular, or the strafe power that shoots your hatred spenders that is currently used on, for example, the Impale Demon Hunter. That's a very popular build, and I believe this could be baked into, let's say, one of the hand crossbows that's not really useful right now, for example. So I believe there's some opportunity for that. But the Angelic Crucible itself, with this ability to make basically a free primal, is a very interesting concept in and of its own. The main issue with gearing up your character in Diablo 3 is that some slots are very easy to get right, and some slots are very hard to get it right. So typically you have like these set pieces that are very easy to roll, let's say pants, chests, etc. You usually don't really need much. They always come with sockets, for example. You need like 1 stat to roll right, and you're kind of happy with them already. And then you have things like weapons, where you need a high damage range. You need to have a good affix on a legendary affix most of the time. You need to have some good stats on top of this. And it's extremely hard to get a good weapon unless it actually rolls primal. And similarly, other slots such as the offense can be a pain to get because of all the different skill damage rolls they can have. So there are these examples. Personally, I've had seasons where I spent 2,000, 3,000 bounty mods or so on something like a Halo of Carini just to try to increase my character's power by a few percent or so, just to get like, one extra good primary roll on it, and it was nearly impossible to roll right. Even with the Angelic Crucibles, I ended up using like 200 of them or so on the Halo of Carini, and even though it always comes with the primal stats and always has a socket, it's still not even that easy. But even so, I believe that the Crucibles do a great job at evening out the RNG and smoothing out the gear progression. It just feels way better to progress with your character because you have more of a choice. So maybe you get super lucky and you actually find a primal weapon like I have with the Zhang's V-Curve, and then you feel really good because you know that you can just kind of like skip this insane grind for a good quiver and instead sanctify it and try to get the good rolls that you want just almost for free. And almost every build has this issue that you have multiple slots with extremely hard to get items that are almost impossible to roll right, which on one hand it feels good when you find them, but the problem is you generally don't find them. And in this example here, you just need to get one of them and then you can make the other. And that just feels so much better because it just evens out the RNG that you have, where sometimes, you might play like 100 hours of your character farming efficiently and you just don't get that primal weapon, or you just don't get a good quiver, and you can gamble like 1,000,000 blood shards and it's not happening. And meanwhile, when you play long enough, you can pretty much completely disregard trying to get any of the other items because they will just drop, because they are massively more easy to acquire than something like a good quiver. I talked a little bit about this whole concept in my recent video where I was talking about powering up your character, what to gamble, what to reforge, what to upgrade rare with, to spend your mats more efficiently, and it all plays into the same mechanics, with some items being so much harder to acquire. And personally, I also enjoy the item hunt way more than the Paragon grind, for example. So I always want to get like really good gear, I want to push my characters to the maximum at the Paragon level I'm at. That's also one of the reasons why I generally end up with a rather low Paragon level in a season, especially compared to other people of my playtime and like my level of play. And honestly, after all this time, I don't really see any like sweeping huge changes coming to the primal system in general. I don't think we're gonna see any kind of huge change that would allow us, for example, those 2 mystic rerolls that I mentioned earlier. And even if we had that, we would still end up with 90% trash items that just don't fit in our builds most of the time. And we also don't really have a way of telling the game what kind of primals we want. I don't really see how that would work so that we get, primals specific to our build or something like that. I guess there could be some kind of like smart loot primal system introduced, but it would still have a lot of issues in my opinion. And I think that an effect like the Angelic Crucibles, where you can choose one item slot, make it into a primal, forget about the superpowers next season, they're gonna be gone, but just having like the base primal is already a really cool extra boost to the gearing part of the game. There are different ways of handling this in the future. Maybe they could just keep those Angelic Crucibles in the game, but make them way more rare, say like 20 times more rare or something like that. Because first of all, you won't have to roll the power anymore. And I believe for like a permanent introduction in the game, that will probably be a bit powerful to have it with like this extremely high drop rate that we see right now. Especially once they're in the end game and you're just, grinding high GRs. You get them all the time. Sometimes you get like multiple per run. I think that's a bit much. And it could be like lowered a little bit to, maybe something like along the lines of like the petrified screen drop rate or so. Or something that would actually make us feel good about getting trash primals. So we could salvage them and maybe have an effect similar to those Angelic Crucibles in the Horadric Cube as an extra recipe. So we have lots of different recipes that help us out in various stages of progressing our characters. And you could just add another one here that uses some kind of like extra primal material that you get from salvaging the trash primals that you don't want anyway. And then you can use that to produce a primal with like an angelic, like sanctified type effect. So you put an item in and then you make it, the silver version basically. I don't know exactly what would be the ideal cost for something like that. I would say maybe something like 5 or 10 to 1 or so would be maybe fine, so that you can use it at least sometimes, when you get really unlucky with your reforges or when you get really unlucky with your drops. you have the opportunity to, make a big primal weapon, even if it doesn't roll like all the perfect stats necessarily. At least it gives you a result pretty close to what you would want. I think in general it's a really good idea for the seasonal theme updates to also kind of like keep the best parts of them in the game. And I think in this case with Season 27, the Angelic Crucible effect of adding a primal to your build basically for free is a really cool effect. Obviously some of the powers should also be introduced as extra legendary effects, as I mentioned. There's lots of opportunities there. And we've seen this, for example, with Season 26 with the Echoing Nightmares, where we just kept the whole system, but they nerfed the XP a little bit, so it's not like the mandatory, #1 activity that everyone gets bored of after some time because they have to farm it all day long. But it's very useful to gear up with the augments, get your character ready and get your character like boosted really early in a season, and it doesn't even affect the end game like at all. So that was a really great move in my opinion. And I really hope that we're gonna see similar steps in the future with the Angelic Crucibles, with whatever comes in Season 28, Season 29, who knows. And we can just keep building the game, keep making it better. Either way, this is my 2 cents about this topic. So let me know what you think about it. If you have any other cool ideas, I guess this would be a good time to introduce any kind of feedback. I'm sure that the devs are also aware about the dissatisfaction about primal drops, etc. So maybe they already have some of their ideas coming up anyway, and we'll see what happens. That's it for me. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.